In my collection of snare drums, over 100 snare drums, I only have 4 wooden 6.5 by 14 inch drums. Here are 2 of them. We have the Tama Warlord, and this is the, I think I'll say this right, Bubinga wood shell. It is a 10 millimeter 12 ply wooden shell, and I believe this model, it's pronounced Masai, is one of the 4 or 5 Tama Warlord models that they put out. It is a 10 lug drum. It has die cast hoops. This drum is all factory except for the heads. As far as I can tell, I believe the snares are original. I know everything else is. Over here we have a drum that a lot of drummers aren't familiar with. I actually have 2 of these, one in titanium, one in maple. This one is maple. And this is a Black Swamp Multisonic. And if you're not familiar with the Multisonics, they have a very unusual snare system. There are 5 different types of snares across the bottom, and some of the most beautiful lugs on a snare drum I've ever seen. They're bridge lugs. They're just so graceful. And anyway, between those 4 snare drums, so far I've been able to cover any situation that I've had. I really like both of these drums, but for different reasons. So I'm going to fire them up, take them around the block a couple times, let you listen to a side-by-side sample, and then I'll come back and tell you what I hear in person and how I use them. So the Black Swamp is a darker drum. It's a lower note, and that kind of makes sense. The shell on this drum, I'm not exactly sure how many millimeters it is, but it is obviously a lot thinner shell than the Tama. And that makes sense in a lot of ways physics-wise, because there's more mass on this drum in the shell, so more mass equals a higher note, if you will. And you can even tell that if you can hear that in the microphones. There's a higher note off of the shell. The snare system on the Black Swamp is one of my favorites, and I know those drummers that are familiar with this brand of drum and this model they think of this as a concert snare, and I always did too as well. And there's other brands of snare drums that have multiple controllable strands of snares in different types, gut and steel and coated and all that. I have used this on gigs, and the flexibility of this drum is just amazing. If I switch the snares, the sound that comes out of it just sounds like a different drum. And I like its darkness. I like its low tone. I like that it's very articulate. There's not a lot of snare buzz. And this is one of the few drums that I can set up in my studio, and a big 24-inch bass drum, and I can crank on the bass drum, and I get no snare buzz out of this at all. Really, really like it a lot. The Warlord is for different use, and I like it because for a 6.5 heavy wood drum, one, it feels wonderful to play. The die-cast hoops are just a perfect height. Tama knows what they're doing on their drums. And it is, there's just something about playing a heavy wooden drum. There's just a feel to it that's different. And I also appreciate how sensitive it is. Now, the definition of your strokes, as you probably heard, this drum rattles a little more, if you will. The snares buzz a little bit more. And again, that makes perfect sense from a physics point of view. There are only 4 or 5 strands of snare wire going across the reso head on this drum. I believe this drum has a 20-strand snare wires on it. So that all kind of logics out and makes sense. Which one works for you? This is a live drum for me. If I wanted a certain sound and a certain type of room, this drum would cut. It is a very loud drum. It is noticeably louder than the Black Swamp. And I think this is a live, big hall, outdoor, in the park, wedding reception where you're, playing out on the porch or something. This drum would fit perfectly for that. It is also beautiful. The gargoyle type lugs is what I call them. They are gorgeous. They are unique. It has a great badge on it. And these are somewhat collectible. These run between $1,000 and $1,400 used. They obviously don't make them new anymore, but I do see them come up on Reverb and eBay every now and then, and that's kind of a general ballpark number. You might pick up one a little bit cheaper than that. These drums are still available new. I think they're about $1,500 new. I see them pop up on the used marketplace for about the same price as the Tama. So if you're in the market for a quality 6.5 inch by 14 10-lug snare drum, you can't go wrong with either one of these. I know I often say that, but they really wouldn't be in my collection if they weren't top tier. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching, and all my best to all of you.